Okay, we've got one more panel and then one more like small introduction to what we're doing at IGDC. So the next one is Bridging the Talent Divide, Investing in Skills for Industry Excellence. I'd like to call upon the panelists. We've got Tiara Santhosh from ASAP, Government of Kerala, ASAP, Government of Kerala. We've got Naveen Shankar from Tiltlabs. We've got Mukesh from Banzan Studios and Deepak from, I mean, he was here as open play, but he's now going to be here as part of the IGDA SIG. And then I'll be moderating this panel. Okay, so I hope you had a good time so far. I mean, we had a bunch of talks and panels, but from morning we've been hearing about, I mean, you had Sharath here talking about what SAK is doing with the Government of Kerala's AVDC policy. So the Government of India and various state governments are looking at the animation, visual effects, gaming and comics as an industry that's a creative industry is worth looking at. Thank God for that. But with that happening now, we've got a lot of things that we need to put right in order, right? And that's the whole context of this. Like, what does this policy mean? And what will this policy help our industry with? Before we start off, let's do a round of introductions. Where you are from, what do you do?
Yeah, hi team. Myself Tiara Santhosh, and I'm working with Additional Skill Acquisition Program, which is a skill development company under the Department of Higher Education. And I feel I am the odd one out here from all the other speakers who was here. So I am working as an associate director for the demand aggregation business unit. And about additional skill acquisition program, we call it as ASAP Kerala as a short. And we have, since 2012, we are into the skill development sector. And our one of the core vertical is training. We have across 150, more than 150 courses spanning across 17 sectors. And yeah, that's it.
So good evening everyone, my name is Mukesh. I run a gaming studio by the name of Banzan, Banzan Studios, and I'm also an active member of SIG, and yeah, together as a team we successfully pushed the policy formulation. Now it's the next round where we have to make the implementation and get the benefits which thankfully, as he said, has been earmarked for us. So great being here, thank you.
Good evening everyone. So myself Naveen, I work with Tiltlabs and Tilted heading their operations. So Tiltlabs is an immersive experience development company. We develop AR, VR, game development experiences, and to be frank, as a service company, we play around with our skill sets in Unity, Unreal, and 3D, developing different experiences that we can create. And coming out to Tilted is the education arm or the skilling part of Tiltlabs, wherein we focus on structured skilling in this emerging technologies. And happy to be in part of this panel and hopefully having to engage in a fruitful discussion.
Hi everyone, my new avatar. Here I am representing IGDA SIG. IGDA, as you all know, is the apex body of game devs globally. We have formed a special interest group, which has now become the largest global association of incubators, gaming incubators and accelerators across the world. Today, this volunteer-driven association has over 100 entities as part of it, representing 47 countries. I am basically leading the Asia region, and I'm also on the board of the association. The primary objectives of the association are three-pronged. One is to facilitate setting up of new incubators, accelerators across the globe. Second is to propel the growth of the existing incubators through giving them access, through giving them mentorship and resources. And third is to build a vibrant community of gaming incubators, accelerators across the globe.
Yeah. First question, Tiara, to you from a government perspective, and then to Mukesh from part of SIG also, right? What do you think the AVGC XR policy will really help bridge for the industry?
Yeah, we all accept that AVGC policy is the need of the hour, and we ensures that it aims the holistic development of media and entertainment sector, and as well as building the competencies. So one of the major aim or one of the focus point is skill development itself, and as a government point of view, even the skill development in media and entertainment sector is considered as one of the focus area by the skill development agencies, and we are now in the phase of restructuring the education system itself in Kerala, and I hope you all are aware about the launching of 4-year degree programs and mandatory internships for the engineering students. So with this, we are trying to bridge the gap between the skilling partners and with the academic level, and I think this would help inculcating more talents and developing more skills which is in demand for the industries. And even all the skilling partners are focused on developing a specific curriculum which is in demand for the industry, but we are accepting that the pace we are doing it is little bit low, but we are trying to cope up with it, and we are in continuous discussions with the industries to come up with in-demand short-term courses which leads to the credit, which leads and link to the credit system which is supposed to come in the education system. So the right from the college time period, the students can take up their passion as a career, or they can have a deep knowledge on the subject right from the college level itself, which is lacking, which was lacking during our period.
Mukesh, what are your thoughts on how the AVGC policy will really help?
So I would take something from Glenn in the morning that he was sharing, that policy can give you maybe a structure, policy can give you some level of a guideline, because I completely agree that all our curriculum right from school, curriculum does not have a problem. It's mostly the execution or the delivery where the problem happens. So policy being there, it can give you so much, but after that it has to be kind of a collaborative effort. What we miss when we discuss among the startup founders in AVGC is that no matter where you're taking a fresh talent from, you have to spend 3 to 6 months in training them. Now, the burden of that, the cost, the time and the money both is on the founder or on the startup, which I would want to see at least that, okay, that cost is probably not coming to the startup, but maybe government can absorb a part of it, or the SAP and all those bodies which are involved in the knowledge economy front can make that life a little bit shorter, maybe if not 6 months, it could be maybe 2 months or 3 months, but somewhere. And it will be a gradual process. I'm not expecting that miracles will happen and suddenly we'll have, oh wow, all the talent from Kerala is all over the world. That's not going to happen.
That's anyway there.
It is there. It is of course there, but that's on their own. It's not because a policy existed, right? So irrespective of policy, the talent is there and talent will find a way out to produce great products out there. But possibly and hopefully the policy should give that correct structure to it, make lives easier for the sector, especially the founders, because now the tools are coming. There are people like Ajish who have worked much beyond that time period when tools did not existed. So life is getting easier on the tech front, but still the human touch has to be there, and that needs the skilling part. You have natural born things, but how do you structure and make it into a commercially viable business? I think that's what my take would be in terms of expecting the policy to eventually do. And it needs a lot of participation from all the stakeholders. I mean, the startup founders probably are the weakest link, I would say, but then they are the biggest beneficiary if it happens so. So that way, every stakeholder will have to work with each other and make it happen.
Correct. So, Deepak, I think you're somebody who's come into the games industry of late in your career trajectory, but you've been part of an industry that actually policy helped, which is the EV industry, right? So how can you, like, from your perspective, and you've seen it, you've seen what policy did to the EV industry. You actually spoke about it last year at Kochi. So how do you think policies will really help spur the growth of the industry?
I think so. We keep hearing about Indian EV industry, and being from the industry, from that industry very early on, uh, I can very clearly say that wherever Indian EV industry reached is the fundamental reason is the support given by the government, because we get the subsidy called FAME, which accounts for 30% of the vehicle value. And if you take that away, you would not find EVs getting adopted as they are today, whether it's two-wheelers, three-wheelers, or four-wheelers. And besides that, what happened in the EV industry, very interestingly, while the central government came out with their own policy, there was suddenly a rush by all the states, whether it was Delhi, whether it is Karnataka, Andhra, Telangana, every other state had their own EV policy, which kind of suddenly gave such a it propelled the whole EV industry in a big way. And so this enablement happened through financial incentives, this enablement happened through advocacy, this enablement happened through, in fact, there were some industry academia tie-ups where there were then courses being defined with, like IIT Delhi being one example, where they created the first Masters in EV course. So there were so many dimensions to that partnership. Financial incentive was the biggest in terms of direct demand, what you could generate. And then, of course, the government also came out with PLI policy, which again led to investments. What I see interestingly now in gaming, early days, but what we saw in Kerala in terms of AVGC policy, and we have seen multiple other states, whether it is Telangana, where we are from, or Karnataka. So many of these states have already gone on to the AVGC policy, their own AVGC policy, setting up COEs. Now central government is also coming out with an AVGC policy. They are setting up center of excellence. So I see perhaps in a smaller way, but a similar kind of excitement about a sector where state governments, central governments are collaborating in one way, but independently they are driving AVGC as a sector.
Correct. I think that's very important because it needs to be a cohesive effort. It can't be a standalone government doing something, academia not doing it, or industry doing something and others not being involved. So Naveen, this is to you because you also run a training institute, right? And then I'll come to Tiara after that. What are some of the shortfalls you see in terms of talent? And see, Kerala, I think, I keep saying this all the time. I think every creative agency in the country has one Malayali in their creative team. And be it anything, right? Be it ads, be it movies, be it games, every creative agency has a Malayali. So when you're training somebody, how do you think, or what do you think needs to happen for skilling to get the right skill sets being imparted? Which means, is it access to more products? Is it access to more Unity or Unreal kind of thing? Or what is that fundamental change that's needed?
Yes, I indeed accept the fact that every creative institute have a Malayali in their heads. So coming out to I like Mukesh said, I also take that point from Glenn's talk that what comes into this, let's say a person is coming to get trained in Unity or Unreal, any game development side. So they are coming with their experience or their passion that they have played a game. They thought okay, so I'll get into the industry to learn or be a game developer. But actually it's the other side, like you said. So what we do is we have structured a particular training program. First of I'll say about Tilted. So since Tilted is into this immersive training experiences, so we first give the awareness of the technology, awareness of the industry, what are the potentials, how they can use it, and all those things. And then we get them to a bridge course or a short-term course where it's 1 week or 2 week or something. It's specifically to make them understand whether game development or this immersive experience development is their piece of cake or not. Because that's what they need to first understand to get into this industry. And as I said, gaming experience is different.
Basically, you reject them first. No.
I would make it make them understand whether it's for them or not.
So, you actually give them a reality check.
Yes.
Yeah. So that answers one part of the question. But the other part is, a lot of times I think academia is not fully involved. Like Deepak spoke about IIT Delhi and what they're doing, right? And I think and you spoke of the policy having vocational as part of the policy. How do you think the games industry especially can work with academia and organizations like ASAP to make this work? And what do you think is needed? Because I think a lot of times what's happening in the games industry, at least, is like Mukesh is saying, you anyway, like you recruit a person from a game institute or wherever, right? You still spend about 4 to 6 months training that person. And that's a loss of revenue for people who really bootstrap. And how do you think the policy can help uh, bridge the gap between academia and industry?
Yeah, the policy emphasizes the internship part and the vocational training side. We make sure, as ASAP Kerala, right from the inception, we make sure that all the short-term courses or all the courses what we roll up, irrespective of sectors, we do have a component of internship. So it is mandatory. If we take a course, if it is a duration for 300 hours, then the 150 hours comprises of theory and practical, the other 150 goes for internship. And we find it difficult to map these candidates or the students to industry, to be frank, and it is not welcoming from the industry side at times. Yeah. Maybe I also accept and understand the factor that you have the risk factors and you have your own reasons for that, but we are still being a facilitator between the academia and industry. We still goes to industries, we still connect with them, we do conduct industry roundtable conferences, industry meets to identify what are the changing demands of the industry, and we communicate the same to the academic side or the universities, and the revisions happens. It never happens at universities usually. But as a skill development agency, we took the call and we started curating curriculums for the industries, and we parallelly we identify the job opportunities with other similar companies. So that is how ASAP Kerala curate the curriculum for short-term or long-term course, and we have courses spanning from 30 hours to 750 hours, and all the courses were running as offline mode. Due to COVID-19, we have been shifted the offline mode to online or hybrid. So now all the courses are available in all the forms. Online courses are there, offline courses are there, even hybrid are there. So purely online courses, we insist for virtual internships, at least for virtual internships, because the candidates should know how and what industry is. Usually we get the feedback from the industry people that we are not getting the right candidates, or if we meet a right candidate, he is not aware of what is industry or what is happening at industry. So contradictory to the Tiltlabs, we do the grooming or finishing school after the skill development training, and we give them a module for grooming themselves or to make them industry ready by introducing them to how you should behave in an industry, or how to build a team, what is a teamwork, and what you need to do, what you should expect from your team leader. All these aspects we cover as part of our skill training, as well as we do concentrate on soft skill training also, because many feedbacks are coming that the candidates are lacking communicative skills, and at least industries expect a professional communicative language for at least drafting an email. So we do give importance for improving their communicative English and a grooming session to make them industry ready.
Nice. Mukesh, this question is to you specifically. Then Naveen, you can take the follow-up. I mean, you can take it up after that. Is like, now, we heard you earlier in the discussion saying like, the 6 months period. I'm going back to that because that's something that we hear across. And it's not I don't think it's a Cochin phenomenon or a Kerala phenomenon. This is across the board. Most game studios in the country, if you ask them, will tell you that one, they're scared of losing talent, so they spend a premium. And then when they get new talent, then they can't work with that talent initially. But now you heard from Tiara as to what all they do, right? But still there's a gap. So according to you, where do you think that gap is, and what needs to happen to fill that gap?
Right.
So in terms of what kind of skill set do you think that entry-level people are missing?
See, very specifically, this field, at least, earlier I think Glenn himself was mentioning, this is more of an artisanal thing where people have to do and show. Okay, I have a certificate in game design, but I give you a small task of actually doing a one-level design and you can't do it. Obviously, that certificate means nothing, right? So technically, you might be qualified on paper, you might have all those, but can you produce something, right? And this is very reflective of this industry because you'll have to show something on in real, in terms of creating an experience or whatever. Now that's precisely where we also don't find that talent. Okay, recently, I mean, in my own company's experience, we had people from who have done courses in Canada and UK coming for internship. We gave them a task and they could not do it. Right?
You didn't tell the parents, right? I mean,
Okay, one was through a reference, so I had to tell him that, you know, few lakhs of your friend has gone. But so what we understood is this is happening you know, internationally. It's not specific to us. But how we can bridge this is, interestingly, something in the policy we have professor in practice, right? I don't know whoever put that term there, but that's interesting because people sitting here with some maybe, you know, Ajish with 10 years of experience, he can go and teach.
this is what Yadu actually spoke about. That's what he also does. Actually.
Yes, Yadu can do that. So all these people who are experienced, because I can understand their predicament that you have fixed role faculty members who can't be trained in everything. And you can't be updated on every new thing which is happening in the industry. That probably a practitioner who's doing it day in, day out only will be able to do. So how do you do that? Now, again, they have to run their own businesses, all right? And they need a talent. So there is a need, of course, but how much of their bandwidth can be spent on it is something that we'll have to work together on it. But yes, essentially, if you can bring in that practical side of it, because theory in our industry does not make too much of a sense, right? So how do you make things happen? By the relevant industry practices. So internship have to be real, and something that Naveen said has to be there. I mean, you might be passionate about gaming, but if you're not someone who can build it, and if you don't know it before end of the 3-year or 4-year, it's a criminal wastage of resources and his time, you know, a lot of other resources. So we should try to filter it at the earliest stages, tell him in, you know, as blunt or as polite way as possible that tumse nahi ho payega, right? So find some other thing that probably is productive for his or her talent, right? So a little bit of harshness has to come in, because why are you wasting 4 years to face that after that, right? So why don't you actually prepare them upfront saying that you're capable of doing that, you're not capable of doing. If you're really good, you will take up that failure as a challenge, you still do it. But yeah, as I said, policy has certain frameworks, at least in the policy that we have in the state. It's a matter of how do we implement it well.
Understood. Naveen, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so to me, like industry academia relationship is the primary thing, as like it's in the SIG policy as well. You know, along with that, some other terms in the SIG policy or the AVGC policies, they're like, you know, having add-on subjects or elective subjects of game development or AR/VR experiences to this, so that, you know, they can understand what this is. Along with that, when it comes to an add-on course, more than the academia side, it focuses on the portfolio development or their personal experience development. So, you know, when we go to a company or something, so rather than the resume or certificate, the portfolio speaks well. So that's what I would think the policy helps in their careers.
Deepak, to you now is incubators and accelerators. What kind of a role will they help with? I mean, we heard the skilling part, right? But I think like we are in an incubator here, like KSUM, there are a bunch of studios who actually started off with Kerala's early policies on startups. How do you think incubators and accelerators will help young startups? I mean, you heard a little bit of Nidhi earlier, but
Yeah.
What's your opinion?
So, I would also touch upon what was being spoken about in terms of skilling, because I think somewhere the core in terms of whether it's incubators, whether it's skilling, it essentially would inherently lie between you know, a complete play between, you know, industry, government, academia, nodal bodies like yours, right? Like, for example, your initiative, Game Connect, it's a phenomenal initiative, right? Because it's creating that kind of energy, vibe, exposure, opportunity for many people. So I think industries where it has still not become mainstream in terms of, you know, whether it is in terms of scale or in terms of skill, it is very important to create structures, and that's where the policy framework becomes very important. But the important thing to understand is that industry has to play a big role, because now gaming is so dynamic. Now we have AI coming into it. So obviously the need for change in terms of curriculums, in terms of industry expectations would happen. So I think that going hand in hand is very important. Coming to incubators and accelerators, I think incubator is essentially, you know, the place to go for any aspiring game dev. And incubators generally are places where you get the necessary enablement to get started towards your passion project or your venture. So you get support on basic financial support, you get infrastructure support, you get partnership support, because incubators are also supposed to really have those stitched partnerships. That's how they will create more value. So you need to have partnership with tech companies, other companies, to make sure that those partnership benefits come to your incubatees. And then they also need to have ability to startups to get mentored, because when you're starting off, you know 5 things but you don't know 95 things typically, and those 95 things can really, mentorship can really help you not make those 95 mistakes and learn on the way. Instead, you can really get mentored. So mentorship is an important part. Similarly, how do you access the market? Here we are looking at how do you raise funds, get investors into the fold. So all these elements is where incubators comes in a very, very important way to help any startup, any game dev.
Also help the ecosystem, right? I mean, incubator, I think, are great enablers for the ecosystem. To the people from Kerala, like, what are some of the incubators, accelerators in Kerala that people can leverage? I mean, generally incubator accelerator, because I think like Coco Games, for example, is incubated here in KSUM.
KSUM have the incubator facility, and as far as ASAP Kerala, we have developed a AR/VR lab, which is in the infancy stage. With the support of 1 or 2 partner industries, we realized the importance of building center of excellences, and as part of establishing COEs, we have 4 AR/VR labs. One is at Kalamassery itself, and one is at Trivandrum, and one is at Kottayam. So all the founders or the budding developers or whoever from the industry can utilize the AR/VR lab what we are having. We have a green studio over there, and you can utilize that as well. And it is, I cannot say that it is a fully furnished or established one, because we are not from the media or entertainment sector. We are into the skilling part, and we take inputs from the industry, and we develop with the support of government. And you can even suggest what are the changes or what need to be added to the setup what we already have. So that can be utilized. And other than ASAP Kerala's AR/VR lab, KSUM have Fab Labs we have in Kerala for utilization.
Isn't Fab Labs spread across Kerala? I mean, it's not Kozhikode and then...
Yeah, I think they have some chapters. Yeah. For gaming specifically, nothing as of now. But we are having that center of excellence thing, which will be mooted soon. So possibly once that sets up, we might be able to source programs and do acceleration and incubation programs.
Yeah, nice. Because one of the feedback I got from another, just digressing a little, is for gaming industry, at least don't invest too much on infrastructure, invest more on skill sets. And I think that the policy really helps, because infrastructure or technology will go obsolete in 6-8 months' time, and then you're sitting on a white elephant for no reason. Some closing remarks. I mean, we're running out of time. Chaya portonde. Quickly is, what do you think the AVGC XR policy for Kerala will help, and where do you see that growth trajectory in the next 3 years? From here to there.
Yeah, and the policy has been developed, and it is there for us to help and guide. So I think the founders or the entrepreneurs need to take the assistance of policy, and we can keep the policy as a ray of light for you to follow, or take mentorship from the industries, or you can you can raise your concerns at a forum. So all these facilities are available now, and to the skill development side, we are continuously reframing the education system, and the government has taken this step. Now I think all the stakeholders need to put our hearts and hands together to make it happen. The policy is anyway good for all, for everyone, not only for the founders or for the industries. It is good for the budding talents, and I think they need to rely on that. You can approach any one of us. If you have suggestions to add any particular skills, then we can add that to our course bouquet, because the government is continuously asking for short-term courses to add to the credit system. We have already suggested for the coming year, but anyway, every year this will be revising. So we can add more courses or short-term training programs to the regular curriculum so that the candidates who are undergoing the regular academics, they can take up the short-term courses and certified and get ready for the industry when they are out of the college itself. So I request all the industries to be more open to welcome more young and fresh blood to your industry as an internship or a placement mode. Any lending hands is worth for a person. So I think with this note I'll wind up, and we will take the policy very seriously.
Mukesh, Naveen, and Deepak.
So I guess the policy is a right step in and the right direction because it shows an intent from the government, and primarily, I mean, since I have been part of that framework in some way, they have been very receptive to the idea from the industry. So SIG has been able to point out deficiencies in different versions of the policy, and they were quite open to the ideas of inculcating them. A lot of talent things were a late stage entries. They were not there because things changed in the 5 years since they started, writing the first draft. So we were able to update it, and they are, they have involved SIG in terms of implementation of it because they realize somewhere that, it cannot be run only by the government agencies alone. And SIG, for good reason, I don't know good or bad in the later stages, but you have companies who are established, you also have startups. So you can actually understand the pain points from different angles. So that would obviously should be helpful in the implementation side of the policy. But as I said, if a time has come, it has come. So I think gaming and AVGC in general, it's that time now. So we'll have to leverage the policy and all these initiatives and the intent of the government ourselves. So the drive has to be more from the industry, of course, because ultimately we are the people who will create value and add business to it. So obviously, but yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about it changing, and I think Kerala is the best policy. Kerala is the best place to have such a ecosystem getting created. We have to be just a little bit more competitive, I guess. And two things that I want to probably put up, a Malayali, as you said, is everywhere. And why those talents are not getting retained here, or we are not making that big company out of Kerala. I think two things that we miss is, I think, the exposure and the aspiration, right? So for we make fun in psych also that we have been told from our childhood that Kerala is number one. Of course, we are number one in literacy and few other things, but when you are told that you are number one, how is your aspiration going to be anywhere soon, right? I mean, what is your aspiration later? So you are number one, okay, but don't sleep with it, right? And be open to the ideas and other people and other things that are happening around the globe. You are in a world which is virtual, so you are practically building world-class products, and unless you are aware about what is happening, how do you are going to build those products yourself? So yeah, this exposure, aspiration, and all these initiatives should drive it forward, I guess. And yeah, we should rock AVGC soon.
Naveen, quick thing, and then
To
Deepak.
make it short, I would say this is a policy curated by the industry, for the industry, and looking forward to make it to the next level.
One, super. Deepak, like, where do you see policy in 3 years' time? I mean, you've seen it in EV, so what do you think will be the stepping stone for this policy in 3 years? What is that one wish that you'd have for the policy to create?
I think, yeah. So I would go back to talent. How do you create talent? Because it's a cycle, right? Like, where do you start? So if you create talent, great games come out, and then automatically the industry grows, and it then breeds a cycle where that whole choice for a young engineer to decide, whether he is passionate and wants to get into gaming, that will become easier, right? So I think talent development
Bridge the talent gap, really. Yeah. Thank you for the four of you all. It was a very short but engaging discussion. We really hope the policy helps. At IGDC, we always work for, we are an organization that we are for the industry, by the industry. We're volunteer driven. Me and a bunch of folks that you see are only the full-time employees at IGDC. Everybody else, including Mukesh, Deepak, Imtiaz, all of them actually volunteer the time to help industry. Like, our entire content at IGDC is put together by industry volunteers. So that's how we operate. We also have a program called Game Connect. So if you're studying in any colleges in Kerala, please reach out to us. We'll help run a game jam in your college. We'll give you industry help in terms of jury, problem statements, certificates. Winners will also get free tickets to IGDC. Our idea is that if you're playing a game, then you dabble in game development. Our only condition for that is that you have a you start a gaming club in your college. That's our only baseline condition, and you have a staff on board. We'll of course reach out to all of you all to see if we can hit more colleges in Kerala, and we'll work with ASAP and everybody else to see if that can help bridge the industry talent divide. Yeah. Thank you so much.